the key driver of this whole machine has been faculty, especially new faculty. Our numbers, like you said, have not kept up with the enrollment completely, but the quality certainly has, and we've been able to maintain that over the years.
So, all IITs and IIT Madras also very careful with faculty recruitment, like many good institutions all over the world. We have been recruiting pretty much every year, non-stop, every 6 months, I would say, from early 2000 onwards. In fact, in the last 8 years, we have recruited almost, 2/3 of our faculty have been recruited in that period.
Yes, I know that.
And we are very young from a faculty point of view. And we are still recruiting. Our strategic plan is to grow to 700 by next year. It will be delayed by a couple of years, and there are reasons for this. It takes time to, especially as we near the end, we realize that we're looking for people in specific expertise areas, and that becomes time taking to find them. Is longer, but we'll get there. And we'll have to increase beyond that now, since the government has increased the intake further due to various reasons. And government increases intake in a very short period of 2 or 3 years. The corresponding faculty take almost 2 to 3 times that time to recruit. Yeah. But that's okay, they stay here for a long time, so we have to do it very carefully. And I think our faculty come from all over the world. Average is 50% come from have their PhDs done outside the country. But we're very happy to report that good many of our top faculty have done their PhDs in India, and they do very well. In fact, in our last review that was done by an external committee, including people from the best institutes in the world, they were surprised and pleasantly surprised, they said, to find some of our star faculty were actually completely homegrown. Not at IIT Madras, of course, but in India.
Sure.
And that's a very healthy sign for the country.
Sure. I think, you talked of a young faculty group. I happen to see that the median age is not more than 40 across the institute.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with another 25 years of career left. So this is an institution that's maturing in many ways. And a key aspect of that maturation is translating work in the lab to societal benefit, to see societal benefit. We do that through translation, through IP, through leveraging IP, but also through startups and our incubation ecosystem. And of course, the research park is a key element of that. What are your thoughts on how this is
basically what happens
about?
is, if you look at what an IIT-like institution can do, looking at old tough problems like water. So if you like Chennai now is having a water crisis. So there are things we can do, and many of these involve fairly disruptive approaches. For example, treatment of water is not a new thing. Many cities in the world do it better than us, in fact, better than many cities in India. And you can treat water and feed it back, but you look at the Indian situation, there are many challenges, and you find that decentralized water treatment, and even at the home level, probably has better chance in many situations to succeed here. So these technologies don't exist, and startups are the best vehicles to come out with these absolutely new innovative ways of doing things. Yeah. And some of it has to be backed up by very good research, because when you want to scale things down, they don't just scale from factory plant size. Technologies don't scale. You have to come up with completely new ways of doing things. And I just gave you one example, but this is true in healthcare, this is true in energy, renewable energy, and so on. So startups are very often the vehicles through which faculty themselves take their ideas, or students who work with faculty take their ideas to the marketplace. And if you come into our research park and walk through all the startups, you'll find many of them doing these kinds of things in water, in healthcare, in energy, in transportation. And therefore, this route of taking new ideas to the market is a very important one for the country. It's not just from a point of view of wealth generation, employment generation, it's also to solve some of the long-standing tough challenges that we face. Yeah. And this is something very important for us as a country, as an institute, and we are really encouraging that. When some of these things really make a big splash, that's when you start changing perceptions.
Those blockbusters.
Perceptions which at a sort of a global level.
Sure.
And of course that perception will remain even if you drop out of the sky, but drop out of the picture, but that's how perceptions are. They take a long time to change, and once they change, they stay for some time and so on. Sure. But that's beginning to happen. If you look at it, we were a big part of India's 100% electrification program. At least 40,000-50,000 homes in about 700 habitats in the country would never have got electricity but for the off-grid solution that we developed and deployed, actually, because the government didn't have a way of even getting it deployed. We actually did it, and because these are places where literally, even to reach the place, you have to go use animals and so on, and forget about taking the grid. And you have to make sure the systems that you leave behind their work. So you have to use IoT, you have to The systems that we have deployed, we can track them 24/7 from IIT Madras. So, from our startups here. So, this is an example. Our water startups are providing, arsenic-free water with passive technology, non-electricity-driven technology in 2-3 states of the country. At least 500,000 to 1 million people, somewhere in between that, are depending on this. Sure. This is another example. In healthcare, we have mobile cataract surgery vans. The only technology that's allowed in India to do surgery outside the hospital. So I can just go on like this. You take the field, I can tell you. Machine tools, we are now building tools which are denied to the country. So these are all very important areas, and many faculty are involved in this, students are involved in this. So these are the way in which you see students with the can-do attitude, because then they go out and they say, okay, there's not a, I don't have to say this is too difficult to take on. And that's the hidden gains of what we are doing.
You had said that you want to look at about 20 startups coming out per year. We are at roughly 2 to 2.5 times.
We are at 50
already.
now. Yeah. We set in our target 20 or 25 just looking at what push we can give. But we didn't realize that the country, driven from the top down, from Prime Minister down, they'll give a huge push to this. So what has happened is that, now our push is only increasing the numbers above the average in the country. But we are doing 50 now per year, and all these are deep tech startups. These are not, startups that just leverage some opportunity due to the internet or due to e-commerce or something. It is more. These are companies that are addressing problems of the kind that few of which I described.
And a key stakeholder group in this whole process has been our alumni. And when you wrote the strategic plan, we were raising about 20 crores per year, and you had laid out a target of 5 times increase in 5 years. I think we are likely to reach that target this year.
Yeah,
how is that process?
Exactly. So I would say that raising money for the institute is important in 2 ways. One is it's a metric. It's a metric of the engagement. The most even the alumni who's most well disposed towards the alma mater, will not easily write a big check unless they feel that the money that they are giving is going to be put to good use. And it's a metric of the engagement. And the second thing, of course, is that it's important because in fact, if you look, I've been discussing budgets with many vice chancellors across the world, and what I find is in most places the discretionary part is very small. Most places, a lot of the money that comes through to the university has already committed to pensions, to whatever. And that's the way most even governments run. So it's very important to have a 10-15%, which is actually what gives the growth impetus and the change impetus. And that way, I think that's very important for IIT to also have this endowment built up. However, what I would say in the context of specifically the last 7-8 years is that we have actually been focusing enormously on engagement. If you look at everything that I mentioned, if you even curriculum revision, our engagement with alumni in the industry, captains of industry, in discussions that lead to these kind of new pathways. Many of our alumni are engaged with us as professors of practice, or they are in the review committees of the departments and so on. 2, engagement with alumni in industry, in our industry-funded research programs. Our alumni are part of most of the committees and voluntary efforts that are working with our startups. They are directly involved in the fundraising, and so there are alumni in government with whom we work with. So I think engagement is the key, and engagement is difficult to measure. One quick measure of engagement, to some extent it works, is how much money you raise. And also, if you look at, we publish data on not only how much money we raise, but how much we have deployed. So that also tells you very clearly where it's going and what it's doing.
And the deployment has been in key strategic areas,
absolutely,
which are hard to get funded.
Absolutely. I mean, we are sitting here now, somewhere in that corner behind the camera. So is, we're going to get the new Gopalakrishnan Deshpande Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Absolutely fantastic building is going to come up, because Center of Innovation started in a workshop, but it's now grown beyond imagination, and they need a really custom-built place for them. So these are all, directly coming out of alumni engagement.
Right. And alumni have 2 roles to play. One, of course, all of our 50,000 alumni wish well for the institute. There are several alumni who come on board and contribute through their treasure, but we have many alumni contributing their time on campus as well, and they are also able to make a big difference to the way we operate.
So one of the nice things is, as we get to 60 years, many of our alumni also getting beyond 60, and many of them for various reasons, personal reasons, have decided that they're going to spend the rest of their productive lives, doing things which they want to do from their heart, not necessarily doing things that will, earn them a living or whatever. Several of them actually engage with us, engage with our students, engage with us in actually on a day-by-day basis, participating in many of these things. We have alumni who are working full-time on our Industry Connect. We have alumni who are, who are involved in in the innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem. We have some alumni who are professors of practice here. So I think we tell our alumni that you can choose what you want to do. Once in a while, part-time visits, full-time, whatever, and we'll find a way for you to be actually engaged with us in a fashion that first gives you satisfaction and secondly benefits the institute.
Everybody is welcome.
Yeah,
They have a role to play.
exactly.